Hello, I'm the Game Professor, and welcome to Games is Lit 101. I gotta be honest, I don't really know what this video's about, or even really why I'm making it. I feel like I have to, and I have to listen to that instinct right now, because honestly, I've had a hell of a time making these videos lately. That's been true for a while, but for the last few years, it was mostly an issue of life changes and undiagnosed ADHD, which I had actually been making pretty good progress on around the time the Final Fantasy VII analysis went up. Then,
top officials are warning that the spread of coronavirus in the US appears inevitable.
I'm not going to say the world's been in a great place recently, but 2020 has somehow managed to keep upping the ante, and it's taken a much bigger toll on my mental health than I'm used to. I've never been a particularly anxious person, but it feels like there's so little else now aside from the rifts between my family and friends over shifting beliefs and politics, a deadly pandemic that my country has pretty much decided doesn't matter as long as they can still force poor people to pour them coffee, and unrest over a corrupt police force that can't stop killing black people even while millions protest their brutality in the streets. And if you can't tell, this video is going to be pretty dang personal, messy, and a kind of dour, so fair warning. Obviously, I am not the real victim of this stuff. Look in the description for links where you can donate to help the people who are actually suffering through all this, and I'll be donating whatever money YouTube deigns to give me for this video. I don't want to make it sound like I'm somehow suffering more from seeing all of this death and unrest and corruption than the people who were actively being targeted by it. Protest, donate, don't stop speaking out. But this video is about those times when we need to protect our own mental health, to just chill and forget for like 5 seconds that the world seems to be falling apart around us. And maybe even more specifically, it's for pretentious types like me who don't like feeling like we're wasting our time, because I've been wasting a lot of time the last little while. It's not that I don't have anything to do. I have multiple analyses planned and have for a while. As I write this, I have another review roundup written. I have a Game Club preview nearly ready to put out, and the full recording nearly ready to put onto Patreon. I know which games I'm analyzing for the next 5 analyses. I've been working on my partner's fantasy romance visual novel. I've been writing articles for Level Story magazine and guesting on a friend's blog where we play through the Phoenix Wright games and chat about them, and for some reason, I've been making such little progress with any of it. Which is really not okay. It's one thing not to make much progress on a personal hobby. It's another thing entirely when there are people financially supporting you and your work. And my patrons are fantastic and supportive and are assuring me that I'm not letting them down with my recent lack of content, but that doesn't make it any more okay. I have not been doing great lately. As for what's actually taking up all that time when I could be, working on important things, some of it is, like doom scrolling through Twitter or whatever, but a lot of it is also playing video games, but specifically games that don't actually matter. No, that's a bad way to say that. Okay, let me sort of explain what I mean, I guess. I've been trying to play Coffee Talk for a video, and I really like Coffee Talk. It's a really charming game. But for some reason, when I have downtime at my day job, I pull out my Switch and try to go back and finish The World of Light and Smash Ultimate. I have a huge backlog of interesting games I'm really excited to get around to, but when I have free time and my computer, I boot up Persona 4 or Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. Not because they're great games, though they are, but because they make me feel comfortable. I still haven't finished Control or Death Stranding, and I love what I've played of both of them, but when I get home, I don't try to finish them. My partner and I boot up Apex Legends and launch to the far side of the bunker pass to catch people off guard in those narrow hallways. It took me way too long in these patterns to realize I'm using video games for escapism. And I know I'm gonna sound pretentious as hell saying this, but I have never really liked doing that. Well, I shouldn't say never. When I was a kid, there was a period where I would say my relationship with games wasn't entirely healthy. I would wake up at like 4 AM to play Crash Team Racing before school because I didn't like playing with my family around and apparently hadn't yet realized I'm a night person. And what made me get better about my gaming habits wasn't deciding that I shouldn't put all that energy into games, or that CTR didn't deserve all that time. On the contrary, it's the superior kart racer and I will die on this hill. Rather, I got better about how I played games because I realized that there could be actual value there. That the same thing I loved about books and movies could be found in games too. Why would I spend hours every morning playing the same racing game when I could have been playing new and interesting games, and then maybe write about it in my next essay in literature class or something? Why would I spend hours playing Smash Bros. Melee by myself when I could have been trying new genres and new games? Why would I ever use video games to just pass the time and escape from my life when I could be using them to broaden my horizons and look at the world in new and exciting ways? And like I said, I know that probably sounds kind of pretentious, but that's how I've felt ever since. I really love video games, and I'm spending hours on these things. I want to get something lasting out of the experience. But I haven't been living that out lately. And whenever I try to sort of dig into my mind and figure out why that is, I mostly just come up with excuses, occasionally couched in some very basic mental health rhetoric. I don't have the mental energy to put into a rigorous, thought-provoking game. I don't have the emotional energy to read a bunch of text in a story-based RPG. Today's been really tough, just like the last day and the last day and the last day, and it's okay to take a break and make sure I'm alright. I just need to take care of myself. There is a lot to unpack there, I know, and it doesn't help that, I was in the process of figuring out my mental state a bit better when this pandemic hit and threw that process off a good ways, but I'm still just left with this burning question. What is escapism? Why does it feel like my only avenue for gaming right now? And maybe, can I make it work for me somehow? My first instinct is to try and find games that are calming and comforting, but also have something more to offer. Stardew Valley is a good example, with its intentional message of slowing down and enjoying what I do instead of rushing from one thing to the next, and its underlying theme of low-key rebellion against capitalist monopoly is kind of cathartic. Might actually help to calm me and keep me focused on the issues, which is probably better than just blasting away at randos on the internet. But I've already played Stardew Valley. I've played a lot of Stardew Valley, so that doesn't really solve the problem, does it? Well, okay, maybe I can approach this from a different angle. Why are the games that I use to escape so calming? The armchair psychiatrist answer is about how video games are designed to give a sense of accomplishment, and depending on how cynical or hostile you are to the medium, you could even claim that sense of accomplishment is just an illusion. And while that can be true of some games, I'm not really interested in that approach here, because I do believe games have value. They're offering me something, I just need to figure out what it is. Apex Legends is kind of a weird one. Obviously it's not calming, but it's not mindless, but easy, I guess. I don't need to commit much more to it than time and a bit of effort. But a low cost of time and effort can't be the entire reason I play it so much, or I would be playing nothing but one-finger death punch all day long. I think it's because I play it with my partner. Because it gives her and I something to work on together, something to cooperate on, and it helps us feel connected. There's been one or another game serving this purpose throughout our relationship, like Overwatch, Destiny, Borderlands, and I guess these are largely shooters, which is weird, but... Oh, and Minecraft, so there's one non-shooter. I guess it's also worth noting that this kind of online play can be really valuable in a time when we're supposed to be staying home and isolating from others. If she and I weren't cohabitating and it was considered too risky for us to see each other in person, this kind of cooperative gameplay could become downright vital to maintaining an active relationship. Point is, these kinds of cooperative activities are valuable to me and to our relationship. It's a strong point of connecting for us, and that's not nothing. Well, okay then, how about the nostalgic games? Persona 4 Golden is on Steam now, and even though I didn't play that game until my mid-20s, it feels like home to me. Its characters feel like family, so it feels comforting. Same for some older games, like Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, or Beyond Good and Evil. I'm not going to get much out of them I haven't already. I mean, I've done analysis videos on them both, so their utilitarian role in my life is pretty much complete. But they make me feel safe, and they take so little effort to enjoy, and I guess they remind me of formative experiences I had as a teenager, playing in my bedroom back before my hometown was a smoldering wreck and my friends, family, and religious community largely decided that truth didn't matter and fascism was actually just fine as long as it means more judges will oppress gay people, and I guess they remind me of a time when the world wasn't quite so terrible. But then that's a little naive, isn't it? I mean, we may have taken a few pretty hefty steps backwards the last few years, but aside from COVID, none of this stuff is really new. I just didn't know about it. You know, I'm coming from a position of relative social privilege, and I hadn't realized that until, you know, relatively recently in my life. I can't really go back to a better time, just a time when I was more ignorant, and that's not really a good thing to want, I don't think. So maybe I can leave these for now. I mean, there's nothing wrong with replaying games, and if I can still breeze through Sands of Time in a couple hours, then there's probably no harm in that. But if all I'm really doing is immersing myself in a time when I didn't realize how complicated and difficult the world was, well, maybe I can wait on that Persona 4 replay for a bit. Well, maybe that's part of the puzzle here. Maybe there are different methods of escapism in games. I mean, if video games can add value to our lives in a variety of ways, then maybe they can also relieve stress in a variety of ways. And the key to mixing escapism while still being productive would be to find a way that works well with being able to accomplish things. And oh no, I think I'm doing that thing where like there's a need to be productive and it's seeping into like everything that I'm trying to do, and that's not good. But no, that's for when it goes too far, which it obviously hasn't because I haven't actually been very productive. And I don't think it's a bad thing to want something more out of my entertainment, some kind of benefit to me beyond a few hours of fun and stress relief. I legitimately don't think that's a bad thing to want. So, okay, I'm just gonna note this caveat that the drive to be productive, the need to, can be unhealthy and can go to extremes. And then we're going to move on. I'm going to get back to overthinking this whole thing. Maybe, and I hate this answer because I have not been very good at it lately, but maybe the answer is to just force it. One day a few years ago, I was in a really rough spot, psychologically speaking, and had trouble getting the motivation to do anything. But instead of booting up Destiny again, on a whim, I started Firewatch. And it worked. The game engrossed me and enthralled me and energized me. It gave me things to think about, things to enjoy and appreciate, and I hadn't wanted to play it in that moment. Not Firewatch specifically, I'd been looking forward to playing that game, but I didn't want to do anything that I'd really have to put effort or thought into, pay attention to. But as soon as I did, I got sucked in and ended up with one of my favorite games of its genre. That's the hard part, though, isn't it? Just doing the thing, when everything inside me is, for whatever inexplicable reason, telling me to just not. But if I could, somehow, train myself to just brute force my way past that initial wall, maybe I could get the same kind of escapism value from things that are more constructive and inventive and new to me than just going back and playing Smash Brothers again and again. I just clearly don't know how to make myself do that. So, okay, maybe there's a way to sidestep that wall instead of crashing my way through it like the Kool-Aid Man or something. Maybe could it have to do with the specific types of games that I choose to play? A lot of the games I really want to get to, including the ones I have to play for this show, are older games or indie games with weird gameplay formats. Maybe if I'm not in the headspace for stuff like that, I could focus on more traditional AAA games. I mean, it doesn't take all that much mental or emotional energy to play Devil May Cry or Assassin's Creed. Playing new games makes me feel like I'm experiencing something new, learning something new, because, well, I am. And that's the case whether I'm playing the newest Ubisoft game or an interesting new game from that colossal itch bundle. Sure, maybe I'm not in the mental state to jump into an old, dated classic or a text-heavy visual novel, but that's not the only thing on my backlog. Why not play a shooter I haven't gotten around to, or a weird indie game I can purchase on my Switch? I would be discovering something new and broadening my horizons, which is the exact reason I tried to avoid escapist playing habits in the first place. But then, I have those kinds of games. I have a lot of them, both new and in my embarrassingly extensive backlog. And I'm not playing them. Heck, I started really getting into Xenoblade Chronicles like a few hours in. Why haven't I gone back to that in like the last month? Some of my backlog is stuff I'm legitimately excited to play. There's even a backlog of content for this series. There are analyses requested by patrons that I have yet to do, but no matter how much I wanted to play Ghost Trick ever since it came out, or The House in Fata Morgana, or however easy it might be for me to blast my way through Bioshock Infinite again, I haven't. Why? Why can I not even play the games I want to play, let alone the ones I need to? Okay, I think I just need to take a second. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Maybe this is all just fine. Maybe it's fine that when it feels like there's so little good to focus on in the world, I have games that make me feel good. Maybe it's fine to spend the time I have on things that make me happy. Maybe it's fine to focus more on myself than my responsibilities when I'm clearly having a hard time. But I don't want to believe that's all I can do. It's useful sometimes, sure. There have been evenings when I settle down with a glass of gin and some Minecraft or The Sims or something, and it feels like that evening legitimately adds something to my enjoyment of life. But this doesn't feel like that. It feels like I'm stuck. I don't like that. Which, I guess, sort of answers my question, doesn't it? From the beginning of the video, why I'm even making it. It feels so hard to care and to put effort into things right now, even when I want to, and I guess writing out how that feels and reasoning out why it's happening feels like all I can really do right now, and so I may as well do it, even if it doesn't necessarily lead to any real answers. And I guess, if you're seeing this video, it must have worked. Right?